Okay, cat's out of the bag. I'm gonna reveal all the magic behind making my favorite tank, the office shrimp tank. So this project started after Warner got his big tank for upstairs at Christmas time. Warner, you're not gonna believe what's up here for you.
A fish tank.
You know whose fish tank it is?
No.
Great.
Thank you.
We were so hooked after that. We actually ended up planting that tank too, and that's a separate video that you can check out. But for this tank, I started the one upstairs and knew that I wanted one in my office so that I could look at it every single day. And about the same time started getting into watching aquascaping videos on YouTube and wanted to try that out. So I jumped in with both feet. I'm more into the plants than the livestock, so I wanted to get it planted, get it established, and then just kind of let the cycle roll for a little while I decided what would go in there. So since this was my first foray into aquascaping, I wanted a really cool tank. So I looked around and kind of came up with the idea of a UNS 30A, which is an all-in-one cube aquarium that's 30 centimeters cubed. It's about 7.1 gallons. The aesthetic is awesome. It hides all of the equipment in the back, so you don't see any of the filters or the pumps or anything like that. And second of all, you get a huge area for filtration. So you have a giant area for mechanical filtration and then an absolutely gargantuan area for biological filtration, which I ended up using to cycle filter biomedia packets for my upcoming tanks, which is awesome. It gives them a head start. The aquarium store is charging like $7 for pre-cycled media, and I'm making my own. So there is one downside about this UNS 30 tank, and it kind of applies to all the UNS all-in-one tanks, and any all-in-one tanks, I guess. The advertised capacity of the tank in gallons is actually less because a lot of that is taken up in that back sump area. So though this one says it's 7.1 gallons, the swim room is actually more like 5 gallons. So you just have to keep that in mind when stocking the tank. And when planting the tank, I actually did notice that this was quite a little bit smaller than I had thought, but still tons of room. I got this tank from Boost Plant, and I'll link down below where you can get one online, but it was shipped directly to my house. It arrived awesome. The tank is whisper quiet. I'll do a sound test to tell you, but it's so quiet. Here, I've got the microphone about a foot away from this. The CO2 is running, the tank's running, everything's running. Not bad. When I set this tank up, I started super simple. I just wanted to get the basics down, so I put down a layer of aqua soil, and then I used Cirui stone because I really liked the way it looked. I found some cool Cirui stone that had dark color and really light veining, and thought that was awesome, and it actually complemented the ghost wood that I found that was also dark with light veining. So the two kind of go together in kind of a weird way, and put everything in the tank. It all just happened to fit together. I didn't use any super glue on this one, and I was lucky it didn't float. So once I had my idea about the hardscape, it came time to plant. I had no idea what I was doing. I just watched the YouTube videos, and so I went to the store and picked out some plants I really liked. I ended up with Alternathera renickii. This is the red variant. It looks awesome. And then I knew I wanted some Vallisneria because I like the way that it kind of sways with the water movement, but I found this really cool corkscrew val. It's a Vallisneria contortionist. That's awesome, and it actually grows in a really cool pattern. It sends out these runners, and those will just pop up in random places. Like we have this totally random one in the foreground, and I kind of love it because it's like nature taking over. And then I did what everybody advised me against doing, which was trying to grow HC Cuba or dwarf baby tears in my first planted aquarium. It's notoriously a hard plant to grow. It takes CO2 injection, it takes a lot of light, and once it gets grown in, you have to trim it fairly regularly to keep the light reaching the bottom leaves so that those stems at the bottom don't rot, because that will cause the plant to lift off and float up. But after a few months, I can say it's super rewarding. It goes through a couple of melt phases, and every once in a while you'll think it's not doing great. You'll give it a little bit of a trim, and then it'll come back twice as awesome as before. It's completely carpeted the front of the aquarium, and it looks amazing. And the back is just starting to take off. There was a little clump there that melted back, became less, and now it's starting to spread again. patience is just the key with this. I could have done a dry start, and maybe I should have. It's where you take like a carpeting foreground plant, you plant little bits of it, and then you cover the top with saran wrap and just spritz it every day. Give that light, don't fill it up with water. And the reason people do this is because there's a lot more available CO2 in our air than there is underwater, even when you're injecting it. And this allows the plants to really establish themselves and send those roots down and grip onto the soil so that when you do fill it, there's less of a chance of that plant floating up. Again, I got really lucky. I planted these things really deep and nothing floated up, so I just started going. I did a time lapse since day one on this, and it is amazing. Final thing that I added fairly recently was some red root floaters because I've been looking for them forever and I couldn't find them. I had some frog bit in there before, but I replaced it with these red root floaters because they look amazing, and floating plants are a must in my opinion because they do so much to pull excess nutrients out of the water and really give you an easier time managing algae. So once this tank was planted, I hooked up the CO2, set the light cycle, and it was off to the races. Just so you know, this is a Hygger light. I'll leave the link down below. I'm using it at about 60% for a period of 6 hours. I wish I could do it for 8, but the options are 6 or 10, and 10 was too many. It was giving me algae, so we're at 6. So it became time to stock it. So I started to get really fascinated with shrimp, watching a bunch of videos on shrimp. I think they're so cool to like watch them, how they move around. They're not as fluttery as fish, so you can kind of chill with them a little bit. So I ended up going with Orange Sakura Neocaridina shrimp. Some people call these sun-kissed shrimp. They are amazing. Actually, Goom, do you want to tell them about the shrimp?
Shrimp are very fragile.
They actually aren't. Just acclimate them slowly and make sure you have stable water parameters.
And they use CO2.
They don't, but the plants really like it.
And they eat very yummy cookies, but they're not for humans.
Yeah, that part's actually true. Here's what we feed these shrimp pellets. They also scavenge from around the tank, and they're fine without being fed, but we just give them a pellet every day to supplement. You know what? How about we have Goom tell us about shrimp reproduction?
That is a very, very interesting question. So we started with 6. Each female has about 30 eggs. They keep their eggs for a month, then they hatch. When the babies hatch, they're really tiny. Then they grow up and make big shrimp. Now you have about 100 shrimp. We're gonna keep them in the tank and keep them forever.
Yeah, so that's right. I started with 3 males and 3 females. Again, luck of the draw, and about 2 months later, I have 100. You know, eventually the population will balance out. They'll stop having so many babies. We can put some in another tank or feed them to the puffer fish. I don't know. You'll have to check back for that one. But for now, we're keeping them in here. We really enjoy this being a species-only tank, and I love being able to see the different stages of shrimp reproduction happening. Here's what a female looks like when it's saddled. They have the little eggs in their back, just at the top of their abdomen there. And then once they're saddled, they'll molt, and almost immediately they get fertilized by the male, and then they'll drop those eggs to underneath their abdomen and carry them around with their swimmerettes. They kind of push up on the eggs and keep them up under their body. And then after about a month, all the eggs hatch. You see these tiny little shrimplets. Here's what they look like at like a day old. And here's some that are a week old. And here's some at about 2 weeks old. Here's some at about a month old. And here's some that are 2 months old. They're kind of getting closer to adult size. So far, I haven't noticed any weird colors or genetic variants. All of my shrimp are orange, but I can't wait to see if we kind of get the oddball, or like a natural looking shrimp would be super cool too. So another drawback to the UNS 30A that I should mention here is that with having shrimp babies in this tank, the holes to the grate are definitely big enough for the little shrimp and maybe even some of the smaller big shrimp, like the males, to get sucked into. So I got this little shrimp guard from UNS, and it's still not small enough to keep all of the shrimp out of the filter, but it's all good. I got a turkey baster, and we play rescue the shrimp every couple days where we suck them out of the filter compartment and drop them back into the tank. It's not that big of a deal at all, especially if, like me, you run filter floss right on top of the filter. They just kind of sit up there under the water and eat the algae and enjoy life for a couple days, like a little shrimp vacation. This has been so fun, and it's our favorite tank right now. We all love watching it. I love having it in my office every day. You can just sit here on the couch and watch the shrimp and talk to them and feed them, and it's a very low maintenance tank too. You don't really have to do anything. I scrape the algae off the glass about once a month, maybe? We've got our pufferfish tank coming up next. It's gonna go in the living room. It's another really small tank that you can totally do at home. Be sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for that video.
Make sure to like our videos and subscribe to our channel to watch more. Bye! See you next time.